Well, time now for the AM News, and coming up, Accra Metropolitan Assembly warns of a possible cholera outbreak here in Accra due to insanitary conditions. And Multi-TV Habitat Fair expected to run from the 1st to 3rd August in Accra, Kumasi and Takoradi later this year has been launched. All right, so we look at the details of the stories now. And the Accra Metropolitan Assembly is warning of a possible cholera outbreak in Accra due to the current insanitary conditions. The Accra Metropolitan Assembly says it has recorded some suspected cases in the metropolis. A statement signed by the Public Relations Officer of the Assembly noted that it has equipped health facilities in the Accra metropolis to treat all suspected cases of cholera. It further noted that all health facilities have activated their epidemic management committee to handle the epidemic on the ground. The Assembly is therefore advising Ghanaians to observe proper hygienic conditions. Now, cholera is an infectious disease caused by cholera vibrio. It is characterized by profuse watery stools, vomiting and dehydration. The predisposing factors to the disease are eating or drinking contaminated food or water, eating without washing hands with soap or water after visiting the toilet, and indiscriminate defecation into open spaces, drains and water bodies. Well, in a related development, the board and management of the Accra compost plant will meet today to come out with how to respond to government's refusal to release funds for the resumption of work. The management says it is tired of government's continuous promises to release funds and never doing so. The Accra compost plant was shut down in May this year following the lack of funds. The shutdown of the plant resulted in the laying off of about some 100 workers. Managers of the plant had earlier warned that government's delayed intervention may see more of the workers laid off. The situation has put pressure on the Ole landfill site in Pong, which is supposed to serve Tema Metropolis. Well, government says work has resumed on the affordable housing project initiated by the NPP administration and the former President John Najekum Kufuor. Deputy Minister of Water Resources, Works and Housing, Samson Ahi, at the launch of Multi-TV's Habitat Fair, indicated the move should help reduce the massive housing deficits.
Ghana is said to have a housing deficit of up to 1.7 million units, which experts say can only be bridged if 200,000 homes are built annually. Over the years, putting up buildings have mainly been undertaken by individuals who have the means, as home constructed by real estate developers have often been out of the reach of many. The affordable housing project, started by the Kufuor administration, was therefore to provide homes to low-income earners, except it stalled with his exit from office. The NDC administration, however, says work has resumed on some of the projects.
Today, if you go to the Pong site, it has been given to Tema Development Corporation. They are on site as we speak, working to complete the facilities there. Then the rest of the sites, which is the Botema one, Kumasi, Koforibia, Y and Tamale, has been given to SNET. As we speak, there are contractors on site at the Botema one, and they are preparing also to move to Kumasi and the other sites to complete.
So when are we likely to see these projects completed?
In fact, the projects are at the various stages of completion, and for that matter, there are some which we can't complete within 8 months, and others between 8 months to 18 months we should be able to complete.
Samson Ahi also disclosed a real estate bill will soon be tabled before Parliament. The bill, he says, should regulate the activities of developers.
Many people use it to engage in money laundering, because there's no regulatory body to conduct the activities of. So in a way to address this money laundering too, that is why we are introducing this one. But largely just to have a body to regulate the conduct of our developers in the housing industry.
Meanwhile, the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association, GREDA, has petitioned government to levy a flat rate of 3% on housing instead of the intended 17.5%. The association says such a huge VAT on housing may cripple the industry as it will raise the cost of homes.
Our analysis showed that the actual increment will be about 9 to 10%, which means that a property that you were purchasing for 100,000 in the past, today you pay about 110,000 for it, which we think it is too astronomical. And so if the state will not do something about it, then it means that our already existing housing deficit, which we are already struggling to meet, is going to be worsened because more people will not be able to afford anymore. And then the businesses, that the real estate development companies, may fold up, and it will mean that loss of job and all that.
The 5th Multi-TV Habitat Fair will run from 1st to 3rd August in Accra, and then Kumasi and Takoradi later in the year. Organizers say the fair will bring together all players in the housing sector to serve the needs of Ghanaians.
Well, we still stay with issues of housing, and the Deputy Minister for Water Resources, Works and Housing, Samson Ahi, says government is partnering financial institutions to deliver housing units to prospective homeowners. A one-bedroom in an average Accra suburb, such as Adenta, could cost about 140,000 Ghana cedis or $40,000, way beyond the reach of the average worker. The Deputy Minister, however, says government's arrangements with the financial institutions will afford an opportunity for prospective owners to buy property on mortgage.
What we are trying to do now, in fact, if you go to the US, if you go to Europe and Canada and so on and so forth, it is mortgage financing that enables young graduates, new graduates, to be able to own their own homes. So I agree with you. The homes that are springing out today are expensive, and it will be extremely difficult for a newly graduates who has secured a job to purchase one. Even if one bedroom is 50 million or 5,000 Ghana cedis, if you ask people to come and pay before they move into occupancy, it will be very difficult. So whatever we're doing now is to engage these mortgage financial institutions. And I'm happy that is why you saw HFC, Ghana Home Loans, Stanbic Bank, Fidelity Bank, and so on. They are all interested now into mortgage financing. So what we'll do is that once you are on regular source of monthly income, you should be able to secure your own homes depending on your monthly salaries that you earn.
Well, Deputy Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Kaisel Atufosing, says government has concluded arrangements to settle its indebtedness to bulk petroleum suppliers whose unwillingness to supply fuel to the market has led to a shortage. The Deputy Minister explains that under the arrangement, there will be an initial payment of 84 million Ghana cedis, which was supposed to be paid yesterday, Thursday, with the remaining 220 million cedis to be paid over a period. He said the payment should improve the financial institution of the BDCs to enable them to deliver some stocks onto the markets.
Shortage, which started from the beginning of the week, has worsened in the last few days, forcing several commercial drivers to park their vehicles either at home or at a nearby filling station to await fresh supplies. The Deputy Minister of Finance, however, believes the situation should be resolved soon now that government is settling the BDCs. He said the initial payment of 84 million Ghana cedis should clear government's debt as of December 31 last year.
We want to take steps as soon as possible. As we speak, there's process ongoing and we are going to make some payment to them. That obviously will give them some sort of liquidity so that they can go ahead and then bring their cargoes in. The Bank of Ghana was obviously there. They also agreed that they are going to give them the forest cover, and that will mean that as soon as possible they can get their bankers to establish some LCs for them, and then in the end the problem will be resolved. As of December last year, we had a subsidy to the tune of 204 million. Okay, and we paid 120 million. That leaves us a balance of 84 million. From January to date, subsidy of 220 million. It's amazing. And obviously it's important that we have to pay that as well. So you look at it, add the 84 million to the 220 million, it's about 304 million. We want to first of all clear the 2013 arrests, and that is what we are processing now. So 84 million, we'll pay that. And then we'll look at 2014 arrests, what we've accumulated to date, and agree some sort of payment schedule with them. We're sure the process is completed. I have to go to office and confirm that. But as soon as the process is complete, we know that some money is going to them.
He, however, believes governments would have to find a more efficient way to target its subsidies, which are to be blamed for the huge indebtedness.
But it's important that we say that subsidy is not the way. Okay, a subsidy on fuel is not the way, because if within a year you have to incur subsidies of 220 million for barely 5 months in a year. So within a year, you're talking of 500 million. That can fix our schools, that can fix our roads. And it's important that we acknowledge that fact. But it has happened, and we have to find a way to support them so that they can also grow their business. I think the subsidy needs to be targeted. And I agree that we need to support sectors like the fishing sector. Give them some subsidy in the form of premise, give them subsidies to our rural community, the vulnerable ones. You have to give some subsidy to them in the form of kerosene. But it should be targeted, it shouldn't be blanket. And I personally think that there are people out there that doesn't need subsidy on fuel or on gasoline, and that is what we have to look at.
He also says government has shown commitment to resolve the situation as soon as possible.
Well, some members of parliament have also been speaking on the issue of the shortage of fuel in parts of Accra and the other regions. Well, they're blaming the issue on poor handling or poor planning, adding that the resultant dip in productivity that will impact parliament and other sectors of the economy could have been avoided if government had been proactive. They caution government to, as a matter of urgency, put things in order before the week ends to avert a further worsening of the situation.
In the opinion of the MP for Old Tafo and ranking member of the Finance Committee in Parliament, it doesn't make sense for government to commit a blunder such as this.
Yesterday, we were having a Finance Committee meeting, and one member sent a text message that he's having problems buying fuel. I mean, what kind of nation is that? A member of Parliament who's coming to legislate must worry about finding fuel, Of course, because of the doomso, the pressure on diesel too is there, if you can find it. But if the government doesn't do something, next week will be worse. We are going on a long holiday weekend. You shouldn't want to have a crisis on our hands. I think it can be solved, and if the president is true, he's directed, I think the ministry should make arrangements so that the banks can be assured.
MP for Akuapem South, Obi Amwa, said this could have been avoided.
If you look at the queues this morning, I was saying for the past 2 days, it's pathetic. And I think that it's all due to lack of planning and organization. Because, one, the BDCs warned the government from last week that if they don't do anything, there's imminent shortage. This could have been avoided. In the first place, why do you have to wait for the BDCs to warn the whole nation that the fuel shortage is imminent? Then for you to sit down for it to happen, then you call them that come and let's negotiate, and then we hear that the president has released $60 million towards payment for them to be able to also pay their suppliers and then their bankers. We could have avoided this. Very unfortunate. The way things are going, if we don't address this in the next few days, the whole business will go to the halt.
Others also complained of the effects this will have on the ordinary Ghanaian.
The situation is quite precarious. You talk about people queuing, taxi drivers, almost everyone. Today, when I was coming around Spintex Road, a lot of workers just by the road find it difficult to get even taxis. Even trotros are not running. The situation is so bad.
It's not only affecting me, but affecting a larger number of Ghanaians. And transport, already we don't have an extraordinary transport system as we have them in other countries. Ours depends on trotro and a few persons who have their own vehicles. So if trotro becomes paralyzed and taxis also are not working, obviously it's going to affect so many of them. I have a car, lucky me, but how many, people like me, how many are we in this country? Yeah, just about only 500,000.
The Speaker, however, asked for the matter to be tabled properly for it to be admitted when a member tried to raise the matter on the floor.
Well, the National Youth Organizer of the People's National Convention, the PNC, Abu Ramadan, has sued the Electoral Commission. The party is suing the EC for allowing the use of the National Health Insurance Scheme cards as one of the identity cards to be used for the registration of persons who have turned 18. Abu Ramadan described the use of NHIS cards as proof for qualification to register voters as unconstitutional, void, and of no effect, since it is tantamount to an application registering twice or more. He therefore requested for an order of a perpetual injunction to restrain the EC from using the NHIS cards and other identification cards that does not establish qualification to register voters. Well, that's it by way of news, but before I go, a quick run through the headlines. Deputy Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Kisela Toforsen, says government has concluded arrangements to settle its indebtedness to bulk petroleum suppliers whose unwillingness to supply fuel to the market has led to a shortage. The Accra Metropolitan Assembly's warning of a possible cholera outbreak in Accra due to the current insanitary conditions. Meanwhile, the board and management of the Accra compost plant will meet later today to possibly come out with ways to respond to government's refusal to release funds for the resumption of work. All right, that's it for the AM News this morning.